Very happy to be back on this stage for another show that is absolutely exceptional. American-born Chinese, which I feel like, I know it's first coming out soon, but when you see it, this show has a little bit of everything in it. I could start naming things right now, like really heartwarming coming-of-age elements, incredible fight sequences, so much stellar costume, makeup design. We'd be here all day if I named everything, and we want to make sure to have a lot of time with our panelists today, because we got a big group of some incredible artists here. So please join me in welcoming the team behind American-born Chinese, beginning with Daniel Wu, who plays the Monkey King. Congratulations. Next up, we have Yeo Yann Yann, who plays Christine Wong. Welcome. We have Chin Han, who plays Simon Wong. Next up, we have our costume designer, Joy Cretton. Congratulations. And now we have our production designers. First up is Cindy Chao. And finally, Michele Yu. So before we get into our discussion, we need to get a taste of all of your exceptional work. So we are going to kick this off with a clip from the show. Select one clip that covers so many different elements of the show, but that particular section does it quite well. Cindy and Michele, I have warned you, I am coming your way first, because one of my absolute favorite things to highlight in this industry is when two people find long-term creative partners in each other. So I got a two-parter for you on that. What did you each see in the other at the beginning that first signaled to you, this is the right collaborator for me? And now, ultimately, having gone through American-born Chinese, what is a new tool in your partnership that you know you gained from having worked on the series?
Wow, what a question. I know you prepped us, but that was a little, no. It's a complicated question because Cindy and I have been working together over 15 years, so I can't even remember what I had for lunch yesterday. I'm not sure what I thought of back then when we started working together.
15 years ago, we literally worked on really low-budget indie films, and we learned from each other. I mean, I learned so much from you, Michele. I always look up to you and how skillful you are in your drawings. But yeah, we've been working together for so long that you kind of learn from each other in terms of our personalities, in terms of our different experiences, and how we're able to put that into our sets. This one is no different from that.
We've only got 15 minutes total, so I can't say everything about it that I want to. But for American-born Chinese specifically, when this opportunity came up, Cindy and I, again, we've been working together a long time, but this was a very special project for us. We'd never been asked before to create sets and create environments, create a world that really reflected the world we grew up in. Both of us are Chinese American. We're both from Southern California. We both grew up and were young people at the same time that the graphic novel was set, that Yeo Yann Yann's original graphic novel, American-born Chinese, depicted. So it became a very personal story for us, and when we approached this, we realized it would be a little bit of a different process insofar as we were not playing fully in a playground of kind of fantasy and trying to make things up. We very much dug deep into our own family histories and our own personal histories. For the scene that we just watched in the Wong family home, we put so much of ourselves and our parents and our own lives in it. We dug up every family photo that were ever taken, and those rooms and those details are based on those.
Oh, there's such nice touches to be able to include in your work like that. I love that. All right, I'm coming to you now, Joy. So we are going to highlight some of the more elaborate costume work, especially some of the ones that we just saw in that clip, but I don't want to miss out on the opportunity to talk about some of the subtleties in your work, particularly when it comes to the family and also the kids in the high school. Can you tell us about some tiny details that you were able to incorporate in those costumes to reflect how those characters have different pasts, where they are in their lives now, and also where they might want to go in the future?
I think for Ben, we were trying to depict him as this Chinese American boy who's leaning a little more into trying to fit in and feel American, and he's just in t-shirts and hoodies and trying not to stand out. So we see his progression of accepting himself throughout the show, but he's just very simple and plain, and that was purposefully mapped out. And then for his parents, they came into the fitting and they're both these super cool, stylish actors, and we had to majorly downplay them, get rid of their cool leather jackets and put them in floral blouses and cardigans and oversized polos, much like you would see at the Asian market or my friend's parents growing up. So that's where that was the challenge for that, was to take them down a whole lot of levels to get them there. I'll say for Amelia, we really wanted to showcase that she was this very layered, emotionally layered girl that looked like the perfect girl, but you'll notice that she always has like a collar underneath a blouse, underneath a vest, and that was also planned out just to showcase that there was a lot more to this girl who seemed like the perfect all-American girl than just this beautiful, popular high school girl.
Shinhan and Yan Yan, I'll use that answer as an excuse to pave the way to you, but particularly to focus on your characters' backstories. And I'll highlight a particular scene in episode 2, I believe, that I love. It's where he just finds out that his boss is retiring and never even thought about the idea of maybe getting a promotion, but she sees that opportunity in him. So when you're working on a moment like that, what do you think it is about him and his past and what he's experienced that has him doubting himself? And then what is it about her that gives her the ability to see that good in people and also be able to draw it out?
Well, I have to start with, of course, thanking the whole team, from writing, from creating, from Liu Yang, who started this graphic novel, and then we started the story, and then the whole team of people that created all the details for there for me to easily be in that scene. And Christine and Simon's character, I mean, for Christine, I felt that she has stepped away from the caricature of Tiger Mom, an Asian family that we always see represented in films and TV shows, and she's there be the pillar of the family, and she try her best to do the best for the family. And then when she sees the potential in her family, she will try her best to push them. And then that's the dynamic. And also, it has stepped away from being an Asian family. It's a universal couple problem that I'm seeing. I'm looking at it. It's a couple thing that will, it will just go through in every culture. Yeah, that's how I see her.
Well, I think that kind of struggle that the couples have as a first generation immigrants in the U.S. is very profound and very compelling, and the kind of loss of goals and ambitions is a slow burn, right? It doesn't happen overnight. It slowly, grinds at you, and then Simon then finds himself in a place where he doesn't even know how to find his way back. So Christine is a really interesting kind of a manifestation of the Asian kind of power versus force, right? I think she's soft power, so she's there to kind of coax it out of me and pull it out of me. And we discussed that a lot, because it doesn't only happen with what we're saying, it also happens in the language that we're saying in. And a lot of our scenes are played out in Mandarin in the show, which gives it a certain level of authenticity that we worked on very, very greatly as well. So I think that's what that scene is about, and pretty much what the entire show and our struggle is. But before we move on to to the next question, I just want to give a shout out to Joy as well, because she's so modest, and the way she talks about how she finds the clothing is actually it's actually a very sophisticated and a very challenging kind of thing to do. Like, when you watch this scene, even my oversized polo shirt and khaki pants and flat shoes, and actually I'm not even wearing shoes because I'm in the house, which is, Asian families don't wear shoes in their house. That requires a lot of thought, you know. I mean, I think that there is a pragmatic reason why we pick oversized clothes, because in terms of budgetary reasons, sometimes you pick oversized clothes because you're like, oh, what if I get fat, or what if I put on weight as I get older? So there's a very pragmatic reason as to why we have chosen those clothes. Also, when the clothes are bigger, you know, you move differently, and you kind of have to kind of fill the kind of space, and there's a bit of a waddle and a kind of a dad bod thing going on. And the shoes obviously are very flat, so it keeps your center of gravity very low. And when your center of gravity is low, then you just kind of like sink into it, and there's kind of heft to it, right? For the character of Simon. So there's a lot of thought that has gone into it. I mean, she makes it sound very simple, but it's actually not an easy process.
Yan Yan and Daniel, I'll add to that by following up. Can you each name an element of the costume or production design that helped you find something or access something in your own character that you never would have found had it not been for their work?
For me, clearly it was the special effects makeup and going through the prosthetic process, because you literally come in and then when you look in the mirror when you're done, you're a different person. Right, and so when you see that level of detail, because you can look at it like, it's gotten to the level now that you can be like 6 inches away from the face and still not see the makeup, and it looks so real. And then in terms of my facial expressions, it doesn't inhibit, but it also makes me look completely different. It makes me act differently, and so then I feel like I've transformed into the character. And then added with the amazing costume that was, you know, co-designed by Philip Lim and Joy. Putting that on and the kind of the regal feeling that this Monkey King needs to feel like, it all comes to fruition once it's all put together and you're standing in your trailer looking at your tiny full-length mirror and going, okay, I feel like a king now, I can go do this, and walk out.
I cannot forget, because Joy is the first one I met on set, because it's COVID time when we started filming, and I only saw everybody on Zoom, so Joy was the first one I met, and the moment I stepped into the room, they were going to change into our costumes. That was a costume day, right? And I was like, okay, I'm done. I don't need to worry about anything. She got it all covered, from the slippers, from the shoes, what kind of shoes, flats. I have 0 heels, and she got it all. And then I move on to the set. And then I saw the house, my kitchen. I went crazy. I still remember my manager was telling me, do you know that everybody was out of that room and you were there for hours and I have to wait for you? I'm home. I got to say, I have to introduce myself. I don't grow up here. This is my first project in USA, and when I step into the kitchen, I was like, where am I? Am I still in USA, or where am I? Am I back in Asia, where my home is? And that's how close, how this whole team made me feel like I'm welcomed with open arm, and I just come into a wonderful, wonderful place. Yeah.
It's an important quality for a set to have.
Thank you.
Well, I would have to second the details in that house. I never really filmed in that house, and I walked onto it one day, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the house I grew up in. It's like exactly all that detail work, and just the way the 70s track home tiles and the lighting, the panel lights above, you know, drop ceiling, all that stuff just made me have nightmares of my childhood. So they got it right. They got it perfect.
I have so many things to follow up on right now. Joy, I want to come back your way because Philip Lim was already brought up, and Prabal Gurung also did some work on the costumes as well. Can you tell us a little bit about your collaboration with them and why their particular artistry applied best to what you needed for the characters that they designed for?
I think it was perfect to get these super iconic, incredible designers, Asian designers, to collaborate with, because we were trying to do, we were taking all the elements that we've seen that we wanted to keep for these characters, But we wanted to do a new modern take on it, and we wanted it to be super sleek and beautiful and fresh. So these guys we couldn't have had better designers to collaborate with. And I think having them breathe their ideas into these costumes just made them perfect.
Cindy and Michele, I'm going to apologize again. I got another multi-part question for you. Because I want an example of three things. I want something from the graphic novel that you knew you needed to uphold in the show and keep exactly the same, something you knew you had to change to fit this particular medium, and then also an example of something you were talking about earlier, something that is purely your own and you wanted reflected in the show of your own experience.
To answer your first question, Michele and I knew that there were specific themes and metaphors in Jean's graphic novel that we wanted to keep, themes about transformation and reflection, and those themes were in our heads throughout the Wong home, and also our depiction of what modern Chinese heaven would be like. So mirrors and like even the colors of the high school reflected our idea of like the transformation of the sky colors. There's a lot of blues and oranges in the high school, and we wanted to maintain those themes throughout our sets.
What was the second question? I'm sorry.
Something that needed to change, something that worked in a graphic novel format but needed to be altered a little to suit a TV show.
Oh my goodness. Well, one aspect of the TV show that isn't really in the graphic novels is these incredible stunt sequences. Just every episode has an epic fight, a battle, just something going on with stunts. And we had to design to those moments as well. So we had this, with the show, it was really incredible. We had this great mix of marching orders, right? It's like a very grounded, reality-based home, and a high school that feels very classic for all of the high school dramas to play out. And then you also had to tear the high school hallway apart in multiple ways, be able to fly the ceiling out and also destroy it, both practically and in visual effects, have like glass exploding and walls collapsing and lockers getting dented in, and that's just one of the sets. So it was a lot of fun working with the stunts team who would pre-visualize everything for us, get a sense of what the beats were, and then we would go back to a set we had already designed and pick it back apart again to figure out where the breaking points would be and how to do it.
Part 3. You already told us a little bit about photos that you had planned in certain places, but what is something that is purely you, not in the graphic novel, but something that was important to you to bring to screen in the show?
The Wong house.
Yeah.
I mean, there are literally furniture pieces from my childhood home in there that we, because Chinese people are hoarders as well. And when you have memories of a specific bar stool in your mind and you can't find it in the real world, you go home. And we had access to that.
Yeah, I mean, that house, we can't stop talking about it because it really is the heart of the show and the heart of what we did and our contribution to it. I mean, Cindy went to her parents and brought the bar stools, brought furniture, just kind of asked what they had, and we incorporated it in. I'd be like, is that from your mom's house? Because recognized it, having known each other so long, she's like, yep. And I went to my parents. And I feel like this is a very uniquely immigrant Asian American anecdote, but I went to my parents and I went to my mom and I said, do you have something that you want to incorporate on the set? Like, we're kind of telling our own story here. Like, is there anything iconic, like something you want to put in here, something you want to get rid of, frankly? Like, my mom was like, come over on Sunday, I'll have something for you to pick up. I show up to their house on Sunday. My car is like empty, I'm ready to load something in, whatever she's got. She comes to the door and she's just got like a dozen bulk-size boxes of expired food from Costco. And she's like, we need to get rid of all of this that expired during the pandemic. This is what you should put on your set. And we did. So if if you're watching the show and you look at the Wong family, and I don't think you guys knew the story, but if you look at the refrigerator, dressing the top of the refrigerator is all of my mom's Costco boxes.
That's amazing. My mom had so much expired food.
Right?
In the house.
So much. I was actually shocked she was getting rid of it. Because we grew up just eating the expired food.
Yeah, same thing.
We're running out
It's a
of
suggestion. It's not an actual
It's
expiration.
not. Time isn't real.
We're running out of time, and I don't want this panel to end without me highlighting Ben a little bit. And Shinhan and Yan Yan, I'll throw this question to you to start, but anyone can jump in on this if you want to add something. I'm pretty convinced that Ben's going to go on to headline many, many more shows and films after this. So having worked on American-Born Chinese with him, what are you most looking forward to more actors getting to experience if they work with him on future projects?
He's probably the most talented 20s actor that I've met. I love him. I simply love him. We've always discussed that if I ever had a son, I would like a son like Ben. Talented, sweet, humble, kind, everything. Every quality that I want in a son. As a mom.
Yeah, besides, his face actually looks like the both of us. The top part of his face, we tried this, we did an experiment, and it's true. The top part of his face is like the top part of my face, and the bottom half of his face is like the bottom half of her face. You can try it at home when you watch the show. It's true.
He is something special in this, as are all of you. Your work is absolutely exceptional. I can't wait to rewatch and pour over it again to catch all these little hidden details too. I have to let you all go and say congratulations and thank you for being here with us today.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you want to support my channel, you can buy one of my graphic novels from the link below, or you can buy one of my t-shirts. And also remember to click on like and subscribe.